All right, y'all, so I'm here in South Carolina. I'm on my way to a pond, a local farm pond that I have permission to fish. And I normally don't do this. I'm normally on the other side of YouTube watching in and watching the videos. And one of my all-time favorite anglers on YouTube to watch is Flukemaster. This guy is a dynamic fisherman. He puts out some of the best informational instructional videos on the market or on YouTube, and I'm not sure if he has stuff out there for sale, but man, I hope Flukemaster goes all the way to the top. And I mean, I just think a lot of people could learn from this guy. You know, I love the LunkersTV. I forget what the guy's name is out of Texas. He is a phenomenal fisherman. I love watching him and several other ones. But the reason I'm making this video, and like I said, I'm in South Carolina. I'm on my way to a fairly big farm pond that's loaded with largemouth. And I fish a lot of structural areas like that. Now we have Lake Wateree, which is a fairly big lake up around where I live, and then we've got Lake Murray in Columbia, South Carolina. I think the FLW or either Elite Series have done some tournaments there. And then we've got the Santee Lakes, which is Lake Moultrie and Lake Marion. But you know, I'm a weekend warrior pond fishing. Most that I do is pond fishing. I've got a 16 by 5.5 foot War Eagle I duck hunt out of and I bass fish out of. But I love fishing ponds, and the reason I'm making this, and I've heard these guys say the same thing. I'm actually coming up on my pond now, seeing if I've got any visitors, people fishing. But anyway, there's only just a few people that can fish this place, and normally I'm by myself. It's a jam up place and it's real quiet. But you do not have to have $600 in a rod and reel to catch fish. I've heard the guys say the same thing. You know, as guys, I understand we want to have the best of the best. We want to have, you know, the nicest rods, nicest reels, biggest boats, biggest trucks. I understand it. You know, confidence is built out of gear. It's a fact. But it's like the golfer that forgets his clubs and has to use the clubhouse's old used clubs and plays the best game of his life. I have caught some big fish on some junky reels. I have. Over the years, I've caught just as many fish on junk stuff. Now, we all know the better gear you have, you know, the better quality in the gear, you know, the more chances, or the lower the chance and risk is for you losing a fish or something malfunctioning. That would be the only advantage other than just, you know, bragging rights. Now, for me and what I do, and I have a lot of reels, I have a lot of money in rods and reels, but for fishing the kind of places that I fish, and one of them, this is me going into one of these places, and I'll show you the pond in a minute, but I fish with 5 setups that gets me at any presentation that I want in these ponds like this. I have a 7.3 Falcon pitching stick with a, it's a heavy, with a loose 7-to-1. I usually run 50-pound braid. Sometimes I go to fluorocarbon depending on where I'm at. Most of the time I'm running 50 braid. And you know, that's what I use for flipping and pitching jigs, crawls. You know, I flip and pitch Cincos, stuff like that. And then I've got a 7-foot Falcon, Jason Christie signature crank rod. I've got a more high end. It's an older reel. I've got 2 of them. They're Shimano. I forget the series name on it, but they're Shimano. They're 5-to-1. And they're higher end reels, but they're older. I've had them for a long time. They work awesome, but I've got that crank rod. So that's number 2. Number 3, I've got another crank rod, the old Skeet Reese cranking stick, 7-foot, the yellow one, his little signature rods that he come out with. But that is one of the best crankbait rods budget wise that I have ever used. And I've got the other Shimano 5-to-1 on it. And then I've got the Pro Advantage Insight 7-foot fast action with a loose 6.4 for my basically worm. It's a finesse rig. Sometimes I'll throw 1/4-ounce spinner baits on it, you know, smaller stuff, but mostly I use it for worm fishing, trick worms, sometimes weightless Cincos, stuff like that. And then I've got what's the other one? My rods is in the back. I've got a Abba Garcia Black Max, which is a, you know, $40 reel. It's a 6'8", I believe, 6'4", 6'8", on a Berkeley lightning rod. You know, 7 foot, medium heavy. And that's kind of all purpose. I throw some frogs and stuff like that on it, throw some heavy spinners, heavy chatterbaits. But those 5 rods, and I think I named those 5, that's basically all I take with me pond fishing. But those 5 rods get me in any situation and circumstance that I need to be in. And I have a large amount of tackle. I've known to carry a lot of tackle. That's just me. You don't have to have that much tackle when you're pond fishing, but you won't be able to see this entire pond. I fish a lot of bigger farm ponds, and I drive my truck. If I'm not, and today I'm going to bank fish. Now the majority of the time I'm fishing out of my War Eagle, and I'm going to have all my stuff in that boat with me, because most of the places I'm fishing is managed heavily for trophy bass. We release everything, except there'll be some times that we might pull some smaller fish out, some you know, under a pound. Sometimes if some guys we got to fish here, just a couple of the guys like to eat bass, but the majority of the time, 96% of the time, we catch and release. I don't keep any bass. But anyway, I just wanted to make that. I've heard the Flukemaster say the same thing. I've heard some of the other guys say the same thing. You can catch a freaking 8-pounder on a Zepco push button from Walmart. You know, so you guys that's getting into fishing, don't think that you've got to save up $5,000 to go buy 3 rods. You don't have to do it. You can buy one all-purpose rod, maybe a 6'10", you know, medium heavy with a 6'4" Abba Garcia, and fish basically any presentation you want to fish. Anyway, y'all go catch them.